Is it okay to anthropomorphize the infinite? I think this is something that religions, down through the centuries, down through the millennia, have done over and over and over again in various ways. When you go further back in history and you see, at least recorded history, the beginnings of what we would call religion today, what we would call belief in God or the gods, you see people trying to personify forces that were out of their control, like the wind, for instance, or when a thunderstorm is going to come, or when an earthquake might happen, or a tsunami, or a flood, like you name it. Forces that were bigger than them, over which they had very little control. You see them trying to understand it. And inevitably, maybe not inevitably, but typically, they would, at least as we have recorded, they would personify these forces. They would give them names, and they would turn into gods. For example, Yahweh. Yahweh, some scholars believe, began as a storm god, much like Baal, or Baal as some refer to him, one of the gods of the Ugaritic pantheon, neighbors to Canaan, perhaps ancestors of Canaanites, as you were, of the Israelites themselves, perhaps. Languages are very similar. But both Baal and probably Yahweh, in his earlier phases, as it were storm gods. So they were in charge of the weather, essentially. So when thunder or lightning came, you're like, oh, there's Yahweh acting. He's doing something. Or Baal. And a lot of times the sacrifices in these systems and systems like them were ways to try to control the behavior of Yahweh. So we would offer things that we thought, because again, we're anthropomorphizing nature, forces that are bigger than us. We're trying to understand them. We would offer sacrifices that we would value, things that we would value, land, property, etc., in an attempt to appease these gods, in an attempt to give them what we thought they would want, so that they would then maybe withhold the storms when we didn't want the storms, or bring the storms when we needed rain, etc. And I think in so many ways, we're still doing that. We're anthropomorphizing the infinite. And maybe that's okay, but let's not reduce it to that.